TVZ tonight. We got two big names, two South Korean powerhouses at work here. And you gotta work hard if you hope to be an interplanetary organization. And speaking of space programs, I've got a question about NASA. There's all this discussion about how we're overdue to have another lunar landing. Lunar. When are we gonna try a landing that's solar?
Current world rank 11.
Don't give our Terran player the standing O. He's not that kind of Asian. He's INnoVation.
Current world rank 12.
Oh, I love it when that happens. That is as close to evenly matched as we can get. Rax goes down for Terran. We've got a hatch first for our Zerg player. This is what happens when you don't clean out the refrigerator like your Uncle Jim. Remember, kids, if it's pulsing, don't eat it. Otherwise, I'm sure it's fine. Terran adds that first gas, and we're looking for an extractor pool out of Solar. If I'm not mistaken, INnoVation's actually using a fancy Terran skin. Somebody's gonna fact check me on this, but I think it's called the Joan. I know I complain about skins a lot, but this one's pretty sexy. I'm not sure if Zerg has a skin or not. The Overlords are looking a little extra spiny today. Where's Solar's gas? It's looking a little delayed here. His pool's like a third done already. There it is. I think he may have a build where he squeaks out an extra drone. SCV's scout for Terran heads out. A second one is gonna head down to the natural. INnoVation has the minerals for a second command center. There it goes. Yeah, I'm gonna enjoy the look of this skin. It is very shiny. Yeah, it's gonna be shiny versus spiky tonight. And in the bottom left is that god-awful turbine fan that never stops spinning. You're not gonna hear it in the replay, but when you play on the map Lightshade, the darn thing never stops and it drives me crazy. INnoVation's scout is gonna see the timing on that pool and know that he's cheese-free. But that also tells him if he doesn't find a way to slow down the Zerg, he's gonna be in big trouble by the mid-game. Solar's gonna have a very powerful economy and he'll be very hard to handle. INnoVation's Reaper's out on the map, he's making a Marine behind it, and he's begun his factory. It was 2 queens, 4 lings for Solar, but the queens are not here yet. We've seen this many times. There's a tiny window for Terran to try to get something done before the queen comes. But the Zergs have just become too good at delaying those Reapers. They make it look so easy and routine, but it's actually a really tight spot for them. The babysitting queen arrives and the Reaper pulls back. He's gonna see the third is down. Meanwhile, INnoVation's gonna try to match the Zerg's economic prowess. He's starting a third command center on his high ground. And that reactor for his Rax. Ling speed for Solar. The Reaper tries to see if he can get that queen to jump, but it's not gonna happen. The oversized jetpack on that Reaper's pretty cool. It's an old-timey reactor switch for INnoVation. Looks like we're gonna be seeing some Hellions. Hold on. INnoVation's actually making a second factory. Speaking of old-timey, are we actually gonna see a mech build out of our Terran player? It's been so long, I'm gonna get stoked. Oh, Solar has a trap waiting for that Reaper. A quick pullback by INnoVation. You'll see that what Solar's done is he's brought back a couple of his Overlords. That's giving him really good visual coverage around the outside of his base so he can keep tabs on that Reaper. Okay, we are seeing reactored Hellions out of INnoVation. Solar's actually going for Overlord speed. That means he's gonna get to see it too. Always a bit of a bummer to have Terran go and do something so cool only to have the Zerg scouted out. We'll see though. I want to see what's gonna happen with that second factory. The first 2 Hellions are out, they're gonna join up with that Reaper, and that's gonna look totally standard to Solar. Nothing unusual about 2 Hellions and a Reaper creeping around your base. And with Solar's Overlord coverage, he should be in pretty good shape to have his queens intercept this. But INnoVation's actually getting the blue flame upgrade on his second factory. That's the Infernal Pre-Igniter. Oh, this is so smart. Now the Reaper goes up, because Solar was expecting it to stay in a control group with the Hellions. Plan foiled, Solar gets the Reaper anyway, and that is the first blood, as I'm sure an annoying graphic will be telling you. There's that high-speed Overlord scout. He is gonna see the blue flame upgrade, and the Overlord's even gonna get away. That is money well spent. INnoVation making Hellions 3 at a time. He is researching stim, so he might be transitioning back to bio after this. But in the good old days, when you saw 7 Hellions, that usually meant your opponent was going for mech. Sorry, I just had to zoom in to show you how cool those Hellions look. This skin is going to wind up being very distracting. I want one of those in my garage. I hear they're super fuel efficient. I wonder how many maps they get to the gallon. Seriously though, their suspension looks like they'd have some really smooth handling. That, and there's also a flamethrower. Nice call by Solar, he's evil blocked as natural. It's expensive, but you can't afford to lose your drones. And later on you'll thank yourself when you go for double upgrades. Solar turns both his drones into spores at the third. INnoVation's finding everything incredibly target poor. A great defense by Solar. He's not doing any bonus damage to that queen, and a transfuse takes care of the attack. Oh, but the door has been left open. Those 4 drones are toast. Inno's gonna get inside. The drone density in there is incredible. The Lings have no ability to plug that hole. They just burn. That was a fully saturated base, and all of a sudden it's like empty. On the positive side, Solar is gonna shut this down. He's gonna make it a one-way trip. But 15 worker kills is not bad. Oh, interesting. Solar is not replenishing his drone count. He's looking to counter. He's upgrading to Ravagers and making a ton of Lings. INnoVation, though, is finishing his wall and getting himself some tanks to put behind it. You can do that quick when you have that double factory. He's also going to be the first to go for those double upgrades. That, my friends, was a Ventral Sax Overlord. He's taxiing over 4 queens. Solar is making sure to counter Void Rays. Kidding aside, we've seen Bly and TLO do this. INnoVation whiffs with his scan. That's going to tell him nothing. But he's about to figure it out. Queen's at his doorstep. And now the Ventral Sax Overlord, yes, it's going to start pooping creep. Followed by creep tumors. The tanks are making it difficult for those Ravagers. They're forcing everything back. Triple bunkers coming up for a second layer to that wall. The Ravagers pound away at the supply depots. But if Solar gets greedy, the tanks are there. INnoVation is turtling hard and adding to his tank count. And now, Solar is using this opportunity to catch up on his drone count. He's actually got a 19 worker lead and it's growing. He's outmining the Terran, and now that he has lair tech, he can get roach speed. INnoVation suffers from a supply block. He puts his unspent money into a starport. He needs to figure out that Solar's not reinforcing this contain anymore. Solar is macroing at home, keeping the Terran busy with minimal units. He's also using his creep to make it really hard for INnoVation to ever get a third down. INnoVation's fixed his supply block, but he's about to become supply blocked all over again. No, he's actually going to save those 2 depots. Look at that, Solar's taking his 4th. This is brilliant. These Ravagers are doing their best to pretend there's like 20 of them. Both of INnoVation's bases are way oversaturated. He needs to expand. Hydrotech going down for Solar. He's already halfway to an infestation pit. Solar is playing out of his mind right now. You'd never have guessed he just lost 15 drones a minute ago. INnoVation has figured it out. He salvages his bunkers and unsieges his tanks. He's gonna push out. There is no siege. It's about as real as a hallucinated phoenix. Now he's gonna lose some scan juice as he has to clean up all this creep. He is, though, certainly being efficient about it. He's got medevacs on the way. That's gonna let him stim much more. Oh, look how savvy those tanks look. That's almost got that Japanese Macross Robotech type look to it. INnoVation may be behind, but you can't lose a game when you're that good looking. That Ventral Sax Overlord has a plan B. While INnoVation's cleaning up the creep, it's sneaking around the back. Here's an attack on the cleaning crew. The cleaners have extended out of the range of their tanks. But Inno's gonna run them back and enjoy their umbrella of coverage. Aha! I got dudes in your base! Oh, way too many tanks for the Zerg to get through the front door. But Solar is going to enjoy some SCV kills. I believe that's 8 SCV kills so far. Make it 10. Marines are going to get the cleanup, but he did not want that to happen. Oh, if he can get the Drop Lord, that would be nice. And he does! He killed it almost faster than I could pan to it. That is Hive Tech, by the way. It shows you how well that Solar is humming along here. Oh, Mule Hammer. INnoVation gets his 3rd down and starts making up for lost time. Even the mules are good looking. My name is Zugzwang and I endorse this Terran skin. A lurker den for Solar. He's researching seismic spines. That gives you that range upgrade. It's only 2 more squares of range, but it makes a much bigger difference than it sounds. It does not, though, outrange a siege tank in siege mode. That has a range of 13. Upgraded lurkers are 10. Both players going for +2/+2. After Solar's stunt with that siege, he was able to catch up on upgrades. Though ever since INnoVation got his Mule Hammer going, he's back to outmining the Zerg. Though that's not all mules, let's give some credit to his 59 SCVs. Solar's hit 75, but he's not stopping. He's still droning up. Lurker is now out on the map. INnoVation loaded for a drop. Look at those medevacs. Look at those tail fins. Make sure you subscribe, guys, so you can watch your games in 4K. This very cool artwork deserves to be enjoyed at its best. That poor hatchery's gonna be doomed. Solar with the cancel. I don't think Inno knows about these lurkers. Oh, it's hold position lurkers! Every marine is slaughtered. It's a Brood War classic. I love it. Oh, Solar just made my week. Just for the benefit of those who are newer to the game, Solar would have taken the extra step of holding down the H key. That stops the lurkers from attacking. And then he releases it right when his marines are on top of the invisible lurkers. If you trigger the trap early, half of them get away. Solar is now maxed. He's living large. INnoVation's scan tells him nothing he didn't already know. And Solar's creep is really impressive. That's where he wanted the scan to drop. So Solar's actually only got 8 queens. Looking at the creep spread, you'd think he had 20. So Solar didn't have a great Katowice. He didn't get out of his group, but in fairness, he was in a really tough group. But man, is he showing some Zerg godliness tonight. Aligulek has him as the 4th best Zerg in the world. Right behind Serral, Raynor, and Dark. Ahead of Zergs like Rogue, a Laser, Ragnarok, you name it. Oh, that lurker's pushing his luck. He walked right into that tank line. He thought he was coming early enough to put a trap for that 4th base expansion, but INnoVation already has his defense set. And by defense, I mean a lot of tanks. INnoVation's putting down a sensor tower. It looks like he's thinking about turtling a little bit here. His last couple attempts to generate offense have been shut down pretty hard. INnoVation drops a scan in the middle of the map, and he catches Solar in the act of laying a ton of creep tumors. INnoVation has a Ghost Academy now, and he's training up his first ghosts. Solar is getting the Crackling upgrade. That's going to be so powerful with the amount of minerals he's pulling in. He's also getting Hydra Speed and finishing off his numeric upgrades. INnoVation is also getting +3/+3. And I bet if he was allowed to get Hydra Speed, he'd get that too. That is a lot of barracks. 4 ghosts, 8 marines. Let's pretend I didn't think INnoVation was going mech. You and I are totally pals, so we'll never mention it again. Solar takes the bottom left. I think that officially means he's taken half the map. If he can grab one more, I think he's officially mining in INnoVation's territory. And there's a spire. I don't know if that's a transition or if that's something for later. Solar is building a bank. Transition wouldn't be too tough for him. INnoVation does not have a bank, but he is close to maxing out. His army's almost equal in size, and he's got a staggering 74 SCVs. I do believe we can officially call this a macro game. Oh, look at that. That is so ballsy. Solar's gonna plant creep right in front of the Terran army. He's like, I can do that, because you're gonna be dead. Inno's like, the circumstances of my demise have been greatly exaggerated. There's ghosts mixed into that army. And until you zoom in on them, they kind of look like Brood War medics with their dashing white armor. It's the skinny white rifles that kind of give them away. So I do believe we're going to see some steady targeting here, which is the Ghost Snipe ability. And the significance is that it has a range of 10. That's a range that's identical to the Lurker spawns. The Ghost Normal Shot has a range of 6. This could easily become a battle of vision, which is why you see those changelings going out for Solar. INnoVation expending so much scan energy trying to keep on top of the creep. He's like, I have 74 SCVs plus mules and I'm still losing the econ battle. Solar tries to sandwich that cleanup crew, but INnoVation is going to blast his way out the back. He's actually researching Cloak, by the way. That could be interesting. I think Solar thinks he's playing a game of Splatoon. He's got 60% of the map covered in creep, and the other 40%, it's covered in blood. Sorry guys, I was dropped as a baby. INnoVation looking to expand to his 5th. Solar has 6 bases, and his creep extends into 2 more. Both our players remain maxed here. It's Solar who's building the bank. He's also building a second spire. It could be redundant, but it usually means Broodlords. He may not be convinced he can close the deal with his lurkers with that many ghosts on the field. INnoVation's got 16 ghosts right now. Look at those snipes. It's 170 damage. It ignores armor. I know I'm supposed to call it by the not so new name steady targeting, but I just can't do it. It'll always be snipe to me. INnoVation's researching enhanced shockwaves for his ghosts. I'm not so sure what that's for. He might be anticipating infestors. Solar's not really fielding any units that require EMP right now. I think we just kind of reached the stage of the game where you start researching everything you just might need in the future. Such as a second spire for your Broodlords, hint hint. But really what Solar's doing right now is remaxing on his cracklings. That's great for two reasons. One, they're an official counter for ghosts, and INnoVation's got a ton of those. And two, it's a great way to increase his efficiency while he's sucking up all the minerals on the map, though he's getting a little bit greedy here. INnoVation's gonna stim that right down. I don't think Solar can get a cancel. He does not. And does he have a tank line he can withdraw to? Yes, he does. The natural might be looking pretty bare now, but the third is a bastion of defense, and oh, those tanks look so good. Oh, this is demeaning ghosts on cleanup duty. Well, you know, I take it back. It's good for morale. When upper management starts getting their sleeves dirty, oh! Solar almost hit the jackpot there. If he can get a surround on INnoVation's ghosts and reset his ghost count, he will set INnoVation so far back. All things considered, INnoVation's doing quite well right now. He's been maxed for a long time. He's got a higher quality army. It's actually got a bigger size too, and he is building a bank now. It's only when you look at the creep or the number of bases that you really worry for. He's even got the spare cash to start building nukes. I can't remember how long it's been since we've seen nukes on this channel. He's also making an orbital farm. That's going to eventually let him dump SCVs and get an even more powerful army. We even see high-sec auto-tracking, which I read the other day is an overlooked upgrade. It only gives you +1 range to your missile turrets, planetary fortress, and auto turrets. But what I didn't realize is that the percentage area that your turret can then cover actually goes up mathematically by something like 33%. Oh, INnoVation attempting a drop here. With that mile-wide creep spread, he has no chance of surprise. He might, though, be able to boost faster than Solar can defend. Oh, it's Vipers with Parasitic Bomb. Inno needs to split. Oh, it's a disaster. INnoVation losing his entire offensive. That's coming right out of the bank that he was trying so hard to build. Speaking of building, he's building a redundant Ghost Academy. Could he be getting serious about a nuclear strategy? Oh, this is in flagrant disregard of nuclear test ban treaties. Here come the United Nation lings to complain. I love how they pause until the Overseer arrives. They're like, I know you're there, we're just not allowed to attack you until the Overseer gets here. Don't the lings have like bestial scent? Maybe the ghosts have a high-tech way of cloaking their body odor. Cosmic Underarm. Forget Sport Brand. Use Terran War Brand. Now that would be a marketing campaign. I'd buy that in a second. If it can keep you dry while you're being eaten alive by the Zerg, you know that protection is good enough when you're on a date with Lucy Milner. INnoVation is ahead on the minerals game, and he's trying to take his top right. There's a barreled roach which is prohibiting it. INnoVation's gonna have to pay for a scan if he wants to land. That's gonna signal Solar to spring a trap he's been trying to set with Banelings, but it only works if INnoVation can't retreat back to that tank line. At a minimum though, he's gonna delay INnoVation from taking that top right. If we're looking at a starvation type scenario here, every base denied is gonna be critical. Oh, the changelings gave vision over that base and the lings decided it was good to go in. But there's a fortress backed by so many tanks. Unless Solar was looking to free up supply, that wasn't so great. Oh, look at the confidence. Solar doesn't run from the nuke, he sits right down in it and kills the ghost. And yes, I am aware that poor Solar was posterized by Maru with a nuke at Katowice 2021. If I can remember, I'll try to show it in the post-game. Because things like that affect you psychologically. And frankly, wouldn't you like to see it in 4K? I know I would. Wouldn't it be cool if Solar did bring out the Broodlords? It could be cathartic for him. Or he suffers traumatic flashbacks, freezes up, and just dies. INnoVation is really pushing this position. This could be the hamburger hill of the game. And he's doing it all with nukes and snipes. He's actually got more ghosts than he has Marines and Marauders combined. It's the only unit he's building right now. He's just sniping everything. Solar's feeling that he's losing ground. He's building 11 Corruptors. Since the only heir that Terran has is Medivacs, I think we can assume these are going to be converted into Broodlords. Spores are getting added in to deal with the cloak on those ghosts. You can't kill them if you can't see them. I don't know how he's doing it, but INnoVation's Ghost Platoon is holding out against the Zerg Horde. The snipes going off is like a drum set. Additional nukes under construction. That's likely his plan to dislodge those lurkers. So this base here and its mirror in the top right, are going to become the real estate that makes or breaks the game. At least that's my prediction. If for no other reason, it's the last place that's going to have any minerals left. Oh, a nuke's finally going to land! I get to see a nuke! Behold its irradiated glory, and then the ghosts just walk right onto the cracked surface. Shouldn't they be taking radiation damage? I mean, they are taking damage, but I'm pretty sure that's the lurker spines. No sooner do we get treated to a nuke than the Broodlords arrive. This is turning into a game that just keeps on giving. Let me do a quick check of INnoVation's Viking count. Oh wait, it's 0. Me, I would think that's a problem. INnoVation, he's like, yeah, I got snipes. There's only one unit in this game, and it's the Ghost. The Broodling leash range may have been nerfed in the last patch, but it's still longer than missile turrets. They are just hot knifing through butter here. INnoVation, though, responds by going after critical base number 2. Critical base 2 is going to be especially valuable. Nobody's had any real chance to get any mining in there at all. Though you have to admit, critical base number 1 has had some really great back and forth action. If I were INnoVation, and newsflash, I'm not, I'd totally be dropping nukes to try to intimidate those Broodlords. Broodlords versus Ghosts. Kinda turns on who's got the most. Can INnoVation snipe them down before the Broodlings rip them to pieces? Nobody's really looking to change up here. INnoVation making more Ghosts, no surprise there. He'd rather make more medevacs than Vikings. Solar reloading on the Broodlords. They are not cheap, and the net effect is that INnoVation actually has the bigger bank now. The perpetual ghost snipe tactic has proven itself to be efficient. You gotta think though that if Solar can just get enough Broodlords, they should be able to just slaughter everything on the ground. No Vikings, no Thors? You don't expect Terran to win that, putting aside the fact that he kinda is. Huge mule drop for INnoVation. Oh, even the fortress looks sexy. INnoVation's completely maxed out, so all this money is running straight to his bank. He's about to crack 8,000. I never thought I'd see the day. The battle for critical base number 2 is heating up. Solar's got his giant whack of Broodlords now. His problem's gonna be their lack of mobility. Unless he decides he wants to weaken them and split them up, he's gonna have to choose where on the map he's gonna put them. And INnoVation's mass ghost medevac tactic is pretty maneuverable. Solar's answer is 42 cracklings. I mean, on paper, cracklings are supposed to be a very efficient counter to ghosts. The ghost attack rate is too slow to kill them fast enough. And if the Terran actually wants to waste his snipe on lings, you'll take that all day long. You can really see how INnoVation's mule farm is hoovering up minerals so much faster than the Zerg. I think Solar has to get his Broodlords into combat. He's got to push the issue. If he attacks the Terran base directly and starts tearing up his buildings, I don't think INnoVation can ignore him. Unless he's willing to base race. Okay, so Solar controls the middle. INnoVation's gonna keep whacking him on that top left base location. I'm not sure that base is of such strategic importance anymore though. Though Solar is starting to approach that point where every mineral patch is critical. Ghost versus Broods, round 2. INnoVation pulls back, but only after he snipes 5 Broodlords. And forces that cancel on that top center base. I have not seen Ghost this effective since that time I wore a bedsheet as my Halloween costume. Got a lot of candy that year. Solar remaking that top center hatch. Sure, there may be less than 300 minerals left, but it's the principle of the thing. EMPs on the infestors. Terrific foresight by INnoVation for having that researched and ready in advance. Fungals on the Ghost makes a lot of sense. Slow them down so the Broodlings and Zerglings can shred them up. These Zerg hordes are the stuff of nightmares. Whenever I do a close-up on an Overseer, I get a real Cthulhu-type vibe. I know it's not a stat I should be so uber-focused on, but I'm really taking note of how INnoVation's bank has soared past Solar's. And since he's got far less bases, that really tells you how efficient he's been in this game. And now he's going after critical base 1. It's Hamburger Hill time, though this time with tanks. What happens to Solar if he loses critical base number 1? I think he'd be hurting. That may be something of a circular argument since I went and named it conveniently critical base number 1. Is it important? Gee, maybe. And it's down to its last 2 workers. Last lurker, no lurkers. The mineral line is exposed. Where is the cavalry? Solar's about to lose 20 drones. He's streaming his lings in. But if they're not grouped up, INnoVation is going to have no troubles dealing with them one at a time. Solar probably feels he has no choice. He's got to buy critical seconds. If he can keep donating lings long enough, maybe he can get his Broodlords over to save that hatch. And then, as soon as the Broodlords get in range, INnoVation's going to pull out. He didn't get the hatch or the drone kills, but that was a very efficient outing for him. Meanwhile, INnoVation is adding to his orbital farm, and he's patrolling critical base number 2 to make sure that Zerg can't get his paws on it. Nuclear launch detected. I get the impression the players want to rename the top center base critical base number 3, but I don't think it deserves that title. But we will get a good show at least. Kids, do not launch nuclear weapons at home. Tactical nukes only. I can see that as an excuse at some kind of war crimes tribunal. It wasn't a nuke, it was a tactical nuke. The annihilation was very selective. Good position by these Broodlords. INnoVation can't see up that high ground and has to blow a scan. INnoVation thinks those Broodlords are low on broodlings. He charges in, but he's kind of wrong there. He EMPs the infestors, but the infestors still get a couple of shots off. The slowed ghosts are easy prey for the broodlings. I should mention, while all this intense action's been going on, INnoVation started suiciding SCVs. That's a very healthy sign. It means that INnoVation thinks he can replace their production with mules. I'm sure a psychologist would have something to say about me calling suicide healthy, but that's how us Terrans roll. Thank you for your service. Now go charge the enemy lines. I need room to make another ghost. So I'm not sure who the target of that nuke was, but I suspect the idea is to ward off the Zerg forces. You know, you're sitting in a pretty powerful position when you can zone out your opponent using nukes. INnoVation with another drop to the main, hoping this one goes better than his last one. Both players shedding some mineral-based units. Solar's gonna replace them by beefing up his Broodlords, and INnoVation's gonna add some more ghosts. I know you didn't see that coming. At 150 minerals, 125 gas, ghosts aren't that cheap. But INnoVation's kind of proven you get a lot for what you pay. If you look at the minimap, you can really see how INnoVation has pared back the creep. At one point, it felt like it was 2/3 of the map. Now it's somewhat less than half. I wonder if ghosts get hazard pay for this task. They gotta camp out for 14 seconds hoping not to die. It's gotta be the longest 14 seconds of their life. Oh, that poor SCV. Wrong place, wrong time, buddy. So, am I the only one who sees evil alien faces in the mushroom cloud? Anyway, I should correct myself. The ghost doesn't actually have to sit there frozen for the full 14 seconds. He only has to do so for a mere unlucky 13 seconds. In the final second, he's allowed to get up and get out of there. And if you actually micro the ghost, the nuke still lands. So as we're seeing, there's just not a lot of minerals left on the map for Solar. Critical base number 1 is pretty much it. Oh, look who's mixing up his composition. Sexy reskin Thors. That is so Battletech. Well, this is kind of like cheating, isn't it? I thought INnoVation was gonna face off Solar's Broodlords with ghosts alone. Don't tell me I know it. There's actually a ghost piloting the Thors. And thus falls critical base number 1. And this carefully placed nuke was actually meant to force the Broodlords to take a long way around. That's going to give INnoVation more time to carve up damage on the left-hand side of the map. There's map control, and then there's nuclear map control. I think Solar's got to make a play for critical base number 2. I think he's got to use his Broodlords to secure it. Either that, or he's got to go right at the Terran and provoke a fight. It's INnoVation who's getting the most out of this patient play. Scans go down as Inno tracks the Broodlord's position. Well, there's a flash of an impressive stat. INnoVation's only lost 23 ghosts. And he's been running them for like approximately 2 hours now. There's 17 dead Broodlords by comparison. Overall, Solar's been a third less efficient. You expect the Zerg to be behind somewhat in a TVZ game. It's not horrible overall. In fact, the game's been pretty close for much of the day. And the night. This has been a 24-hour game, right? Oh, I thought INnoVation was going to carve up Solar's tech there. He pulled back, deciding that wasn't his moment. Instead, he's going after that top center base yet again. If it falls, I do not think Solar should remake it. Whoa, Broodlords! They were hovered over a nuke for a few seconds there. I was definitely having flashbacks. Solar, to his credit, did not panic. He went right at the ghosts and killed them. And now the Broodlords are finally going to have a chance to go on the offense here. He's starting to see just how advanced INnoVation's orbital farm is. Oh, he's going to get a Thor. He's trapped one. They are the biggest threat to his Broodlords on the map right now. INnoVation's going to retreat. He doesn't like the size of that Broodlord cloud. Neither does this fortress, but he doesn't get to retreat. These broodlings are not giving him a blood-encrusted pedicure. He is all alone. Insert the Jaws theme music here. Our poor little fortress is not looking so fortressy. But while I'm admiring the destruction, INnoVation is making his move. EMPs on the infestors, snipes on the broodlords. The fortress soaked up a ton of broodlings and created an opening. INnoVation, of course, chuckles because that fortress stopped mining ages ago. It got a second lease on life as broodling bait. But I'm making it sound like everything's rolling INnoVation's way, and it's certainly not. Solar's starting to pin those ghosts into place. Well, that image says it all. Critical base number 2 looking pretty critical there. Inno forces the cancel and he's gonna claim it. Solar's adding back in Hydras. I think he realizes he needs some way to deal with that medevac cloud. 3 guesses what INnoVation's making. Hint, he's got a few of them already and it rhymes with oasts. Solar's bank is gone. And I'm having trouble seeing how he's gonna replenish it if he doesn't get critical base number 2. At this point, we should probably christen it Critical Base Number 1. Though while he may have a resource problem, he's still got a pretty sick army. Even Marines with their own personal medevac are struggling to deal with it. Solar's been uber patient. If he loses that army, I don't think he can rebuild it. But there's no question to my mind, it's the dominant force on the map right now. INnoVation's gonna try to rebuild his Thor count. He'll be wanting those, because I do believe that Solar's gotten himself a position. Solar's gonna be able to strike at that mule farm, and if I'm not mistaken, INnoVation's ghosts are still camping out back behind what's left of that mineral line. Okay, I'm very curious as to why Inno's building a command center there, but I gather the idea is that Solar would never think to look there. Okay, so the Corruptors clear out the medevacs. Some vestigial lurkers go to work on the ghosts. They're gonna get taken out, but INnoVation's ghost count is about to get reset. He's shedding ghosts. There's just not enough left to deal with the Broodlords now. Solar is retaking control of this game. I think, or are those Marines actually going to clean this up? No, okay, the world hasn't gone entirely insane here. Thor is here though for Terran. This is very touch and go. There are 2 Thors with 2 more on the way. Solar once again trying to push into the naturals, something he attempted to do 25 minutes ago. 1 Thor falls to the broodlings. Oh my god! Solar says he doesn't need an income. He's decided to make a play with what he has. INnoVation, though, is able to reinforce. Solar is not making much of anything. Though as soon as I say that, he makes a mighty 12 Zerglings. And it is the base formerly known as Critical Base Number 2 that is supplying INnoVation. Oh, a defensive nuke on his own position forces the Broodlords away. That's huge. When the Broodlords are stuck in transit, they're really stuck in transit. And here comes the newly purchased cavalry. INnoVation cancels that fortress upgrade and lifts off instead. Solar long distance mining from Critical Base Number 2. That's what the mighty 200 supply Solar has been reduced to. He's gone from split map master to may I please have your crumbs. Oh, and when we say long distance mining, we do mean long distance. It's all the way back to the natural. Man, I gotta see how this ends. INnoVation can't land, Solar can't kill him. And I still don't know what this base was for. It hasn't turned into a hidden orbital. I think it's just like a resort cottage for Terran. The white beach sand is lovely this time of year. Though the bugs, man, truthfully, there's a lot of bugs this season. Okay, Solar's gonna get serious about taking the base formerly known as Critical Base Number 2. If he secures that, that could actually be a TSN turning point for him. Though he has to scrounge up 300 minerals to do that. Meanwhile, INnoVation follows through on the time-honored strategy of be where the Broodlords are not. He's gonna clean out the base formerly known as Critical Base Number 1. This is all very Sun Tzu's strike where your enemy is weakest. And now he's gonna plow northward. Solar, who has built a hatchery at every conceivable resource location, is not going to put one down at the base he has just secured. He's going for additional Broodlords instead. Overlords are dying. Solar's supply capacity has dropped down now. He has a deficit. This is starting to look base racy. Both players attacking unopposed. Solar has to say goodbye to Hydra Tech and Lurker Tech. He's gonna lose his Evos in Roach Warren, though his Evos have done all the researching they can do, and we haven't seen a Roach in a very long time. Correction, Solar is going to put a hatch down at critical base number whatever. I do think that's what he has to do. And he's not base racing. He's swung his Broodlords over to the left-hand side of the map to try to meet the Terran. INnoVation's pulling back. Solar's plotted an intercept course. There are a lot of Thors. A lot in this context being 4. INnoVation has an orbital at the former critical base number 1. And his Thors are going to stand and defend it. Vipers drop Blinding Cloud on 2 of the Thors. The Lings close. Snipes going off, fungal growths. The Broodlords are evaporating. And Solar GG's! I thought he was gonna have that. When I saw the Blinding Cloud, I thought he might do it. Great game by Inno. Look. Sometimes a long game of TVZ can get repetitive, and this game had some stretches, but it also had a plethora of cool moments. At this point, with everything that just happened, you'd be forgiven if you forgot that Inno actually opened with a double factory blue flame Hellion harass. It was pretty cool. Or that Solar responded with what I like to call a poop siege, ferrying his queens in front of the Terran wall to lay down creep. But I did promise to show you the now famous clip of the Broodlord nuke in the Maru vs. Zerg game. I won't be casting that one, because, understandably, it's been long spoiled, but just in case you haven't had the pleasure, I made us a copy in high definition. With apologies to Solar, I feel like the internet needs this. Feast your eyes. So here we are at almost the 40-minute mark, a game even longer than the one you just witnessed. Solar has 16 Broodlords, and he's ripping into Maru. A lone ghost puts down a nuke. Rather than retreat, Maru elects to kill the ghost. He's got the Overseers to find it, but the Broodlings keep hitting the missile turret and the fortress. That nuke is going to land, and it's going to kill every last Broodlord. The resource replacement cost? 8,800. Now, I know it's kind of weird that we're analyzing a game other than the game we actually watched. But what doesn't seem to get talked about in this play of the year was how close Solar was to killing the ghost and stopping the nuke. If you kill the ghost before the targeting animation completes, you stop the nuke. That 100 hit point ghost was down to 50, and Solar does kill it before the nuke drops. This epic moment turns on a single second. I don't want to play coulda, woulda, shoulda, but if those Broodlords survive, they probably go on to win the game. Just one last time in slow-mo, because that's kind of a thing I like to do. Those Corruptors didn't exactly escape with a lot of hit points either. So the very last thing I want to show you is my Warshat test with the nuclear blast animation. Time to go back to the cast we actually watched. A nuke of far less consequence, but let me ask you, did Blizzard hide a demon goblin creature in the blast? You see it, right? Or do I need to go for counseling? I guess a nuclear cloud is just like any other cloud. You see what you want to see. Personally, I'd rather see unicorns and rainbows, but it's just not happening. I've decided to name him Nukey. And I think we'll have Nukey showing up on the channel from time to time, kind of like Battle Duck. For those of you who've been around long enough to remember Battle Duck, I haven't brought him out in a while. But if nobody else can see it, somebody please warn me. It'd be kind of weird to have a mascot if nobody else could see it. And he's kind of like Snuffleupagus or my imaginary friend or something. Anyways, that's enough personal indulgence. Nukey and I would just like to say, from our base to yours, Zugzwang out. To continue your Starcraft journey, Nova advises you to click the video in the upper rectangle. But Kerrigan warns you to watch your 6 and click the video in the bottom rectangle. Or you can stimpack your Starcraft experience. Subscribe to Zugzwang Starcraft. Just hit the circle. From my base to yours, Zugzwang out.